Good afternoon, everybody. It's a little after 2:30 on Monday, August 17th. This is Jim Shalik. I'm at the Board of Elections, talking through my mask, so I hope everybody can hear me clearly. Let me take attendance first. First, we're going to begin with a meeting of the Board of Canvassers, because we have untimely ballots. I'm going to take attendance. Nahid Kozame?
Yes.
David Naiman?
Present.
Diane Dillon?
Present.
Elise Barnes?
Present.
Jackie Phillips?
Tell her unmute herself.
Who, Jackie?
Jackie, I muted her.
Jackie, unmute yourself, Janet says.
*6.
*6, Jackie. Jackie Phillips?
Jackie's here.
All right, Jackie. And Alan Banoff.
I'm here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. All right, this is the Board of Canvassers, and Margaret added this to the agenda because of untimely ballots, Margaret?
Yes.
Okay, they are here. Kevin's looked through them. Is there a motion to reject the untimely ballots that are here? Is there a motion?
I move we reject those ballots which was untimely.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion?
I'm finished.
All those in favor of rejection of the rejection of untimely ballots, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? They are unanimously rejected. Is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Canvassers? Motion to adjourn the Board of Canvassers?
I move we adjourn the Board of Canvassers.
Second?
Second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? Okay, we're now going to convene the Board of Elections. Everybody's still on the line. We do have a quorum, and just my remarks are very brief. I always like to begin our meetings by thanking Margaret and the staff working under very difficult conditions. Thank you, Margaret, from the board and the staff, and to the staff. We just really appreciate your efforts. And Kevin, always thank you for your advice and your leadership in helping us get through the election.
You're welcome.
Okay, in terms of the agenda, Margaret has asked to add under new business the media budget, which we will discuss under new business. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to disclosure of campaign contributions. I think I'm going to be the first one to make a disclosure since we
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
What?
I'm going to make disclosures. I thought when we changed the bylaws, we are allowed to make contributions to a political party. I wasn't aware until I reviewed the bylaws that if you go to a fundraiser for a political party and you make a contribution, that you have to disclose that. So, in view of that, in terms of full disclosure, on July 25th and August 8th, I went to two separate Republican, I guess they were lawn parties or house events, outside with social distancing. And each
The
event...
Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Can you ask everybody to mute if they're not a board
That was
member?
who's 240-777-8531.
It's not us.
Not the one.
That's not us.
Go to.
No.
Yeah, if you're not a board member, please mute. Okay, so on July 25th and August 8th, I went to two outdoor lawn parties, and each one was a $25 ticket So on July 25th and August 8th, I made 2 checks of $25 each to MCGOP, which is the Montgomery County GOP. So those are my disclosures. Any other disclosures of any member of the board?
I'd like to ask a question of Kevin, because I have asked Kevin in the past about whether disclosures to political party organizations are required, and the answer I received was that they are not.
No, David, that's what I thought. However, let me read section 4.2, political activity.
My question is for Kevin, because I thought that our board made very clear during the discussion of the bylaws that was not included.
I agreed. I thought that was the case.
If it is included, I do have disclosures to make, but I would need time to put them together because I did not come prepared for that, because my belief is that we said it was not going to be covered. If they are going to be covered, obviously
I'm with you. David, this is Jackie. I'm with you. I need some time too.
Well, let me just read. Let me just read the sentence that's applicable. And I agree with Jackie and David. I did not think a disclosure was necessary. However, section 4.2 of our bylaws, a member may attend campaign fundraisers held by candidates, political parties, or ballot issue committees, provided the member discloses this fact to the board and does not publicly indicate that he or she is a member of the board. I had spoken to Kevin and his view, and I'll ask him to speak, that if we go to a fundraiser, even if the party is having it, we have to make that disclosure. And I've done that. Kevin?
Okay.
that represents a change of position.
That's in the existing, but Kevin?
Well, I thought what you all had changed was that if you made a contribution to a political party, that did not need to be disclosed. But if you actually attended an event, I don't think you changed the bylaws to reflect that you don't have to disclose that.
Well, we thought we...
So Kevin, it's your view that the way the bylaws read now, if you give money to a political party and you don't attend the event, then you don't have to disclose it, but if you do attend the event, you do have to disclose it?
That's how it reads right now. I suggest you change it.
And if that's the case, then my next question is, if you are attending remotely, is that attendance?
I would think it'd be the contribution, not the attendance.
Exactly.
But it's written, as Kevin said, that, it's written that, may attend campaign fundraisers.
Yes.
It's the attendance that's in the bylaw.
Right.
Yeah, and the way it had been modified was simply if you wrote a check to one of the political parties, you didn't have to disclose that. But this section was not changed,
Well,
and
Kevin, stop
Jim
this,
actually
Jack, stop
attended
that
an
a minute.
event.
2 of them.
Not have to. If you give a... What did you just say? You do
If you
or
just-
do not have to disclose?
If you
contribution
write
to
a
a
check
party.
to a political party as a contribution, you do not need to disclose that.
But if you go to a fundraiser, you have to. Is that the difference?
Correct. And I would suggest that you all change
Okay,
it moving forward.
And what if you attend a Zoom meeting? Is that going to a fundraiser?
Yes. You're going to...
No, you're not.
If
No, you're
you
not.
gave the money, right? But you're saying a Zoom meeting that you also contributed to.
No, you're sitting at home. Anyway,
But you contribute.
No, and may I say, attending by Zoom is attending, because when we're at this kind of a meeting, we're sitting at home, but we're presumed attendance.
My suggestion is,
Isn't the trigger the contribution? I mean, you can
I
attend
would like to.
if you don't pay.
I'd like to make a suggestion. My suggestion would be that first off, we look back at the recording of the meeting where we approved the bylaws and make sure of what exactly it is that we did. Because the fact that the bylaws read that way and that we all remember it differently does suggest that it's worth at least a little bit of research to figure out what we did, and that at a future time we figure out, what our bottom line is. I personally believe that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the difference to be whether you attend or not, especially in the year 2020 where attendance means different things to different people. I think we just have to decide whether political party contributions are disclosable or not. I don't know that we want to have the entire conversation that we had back in June or July or whatever it was of 2019 when we made these rules all over again. And I understand that we have many other more pressing things to do right now.
Yes.
My suggestion is we put this on next month's agenda, or is that too soon?
Yes, that's too
No,
soon.
No, next month.
When you
I think next month's agenda is fine. I think if we are going to be disclosing these, we should disclose them before the election. So it's not like we can say we're too busy with the election to disclose our contributions.
Lisa, can you add this to the agenda next month, please?
I will. I'll do
Okay.
that.
Yeah, we'll add that.
Kevin?
Yeah. Kevin? Is that-
Yes.
And I have a quick
Oh, Diane.
Kevin,
I need for you to say.
Can I ask a quick question?
I
My
need for them to
understanding,
identify
I hope
who's
this is
speaking.
correct, is that we can make contributions
this.
to candidates that are not on our, that are not going to be on our ballot, and we don't have to disclose that. That's my understanding.
Diane.
In terms of
That's why
transcription, would you all identify yourselves before you talk, please?
That was Diane.
Diane first.
Okay.
Diane says, my
I knew-
understanding is we can make contributions and we don't have to disclose it if the recipient of the contribution is not going to be on our ballot, correct?
Okay. And this is Kevin Karpinski. That is
Mr. Davis,
correct,
that's my
Diane.
understanding as well.
We'll add that. That's
Alan,
okay.
All right, let's do our homework on next meeting. Go on.
No, Kevin, you were trying to say something.
I just said that I will go back and listen to the tape and look at the bylaws, and I'll provide you an update between now and your next meeting so you'll have time to think about it.
Good. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any, Lisa or Margaret, do we have any public comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Some emails were sent to you via email earlier today, and also we just received an email from Council Member Evan Glass related to the placing, well, you can read the letter. So those letters did come, and I believe Allison or Alberto sent the letter on to the board members.
Okay.
And then I believe Senator Kagan asked to speak to the board.
Welcome, Senator. Senator, can you hear me?
She got to unmute herself.
Sure can, Kim. Thank you.
Oh, welcome.
Is it appropriate for me to speak briefly at this moment?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to echo your comments about thanking the incredible staff and all the members of the board. This is a crazy time between the pandemic and now, this election plan. So I think you all know that I've been really engaged. Carol Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and very deeply connected to all of these pending election issues. I've been on every single state board meeting and have been very outspoken about some of my concerns. I think we've made progress. I'm calling a little bit of a parochial message here about the voting locations, which I know you're going to be discussing today. So I just have two quick thoughts about it. First off, I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the Boer Park site makes, just everybody's been using it for years. It makes great sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense to now add Gaithersburg High School. It's not required. We can add up to the 282 high schools statewide. It's 0.2 miles away. It's in the same entry place off 355. I think through science and everything, We can direct people to Borough Park. People have been using it. The parking is right there, and I think that works. So I'm recommending Borough Park and not adding a new site and needing to find the staffing, poll workers, and spend taxpayer money by opening up Gaithersburg High School. On the contrary, if it is broken, I think we have an opportunity to fix it. And what's broken to me in Rockville, the other half of my district, is the executive office building. Now, I realize that I was here a couple of meetings ago asking you all not to move from the EOB to Ballard 5. But life has changed now, and we have an even better option. The key reason that I supported the EOB was that it had been used, that it was metro accessible. But we all know that parking is terrible there, and no one knows where it is, and people get lost all the time. The brilliance in using these high schools is that they are community gathering sites. They are metro accessible, this one anyway. They are disabled accessible. There is video camera for our drop-off boxes. There's so many benefits, and as you all know, Richard Montgomery has been used as 1, 2, or even 3 different precincts at the same time as a voting center. So people in the area are used to voting at Richard Montgomery. My recommendation in Rockville is to close the EOB and to shift for both early voting and election day to Richard Montgomery. It makes no sense to spend taxpayer money, have to recruit judges to staff both sites that are, again, I think it's 3/10 of a mile, but it's basically 2 blocks away, and I don't think that makes any sense. The other thing about the executive office building is we don't expect, I can't imagine that in October, November, that we're going to have jurors and lawyers and folks in the courthouse. We're not going to have executive department employees working there or council employees going into the EOB. So the normal traffic patterns that would argue for that being a good site, I don't expect to be valid. So with that recommendation, shifting from the EOB, not using the EOB at all, but using Montgomery for both early voting and election day. And with that, I thank you for listening. I'm happy to take any questions. Oh, and Sydney Katz joins me in my comments. I did talk to both Mark Elridge, County Executive, and Dale Tibbetts, and they weren't able to come to closure in time for the conversation. And I just checked text a minute ago. I hadn't heard back a definitive thing, but I did talk to Mark about an hour ago, and he did not have a strong, here's why the EOB must be used. So he was going to think about it and talk to Dale. Dale and I talked, and again, not everybody gets to circle back. So I just want to let you know that I did reach out to the executive.
Do you know how far Richard Montgomery is compared to EOB?
Thank you for asking that. It's a 2-minute drive for those who drive, and it's 3/10 of a mile by driving, and I think it's probably shorter to walk. So it's very short. And it's also very equally close to the metro.
Jim, this is David. Could I be recognized?
Sure. Yes, sure.
I find myself in the unusual circumstance of disagreeing with Senator Kagan about the locations in her district. I agreed with her the last time she came to see us, or the last time she sent us a letter. But I disagree this time for a number of reasons. The first one is that the executive office building is known to be an early voting site, has been an early voting site since the beginning of early voting. Literally since the very first time that early voting took place. And while there's no question that there are advantages to Richard Montgomery over the executive office building, it is still the site that we have approved for this election, that we approved for past elections, that we just approved at our last meeting. We didn't have a vote, but we just agreed to approve. I also think it's way too early for us to decide whether it's wasteful or necessary to have polling places that are nearby each other. Senator Kagan only pointed out the two examples that are in her district. We also have the Sandy Spring Fire Department that is very close to Sherwood High School. We also have the Damascus Recreation Center that is very close to Damascus High School. And I'm not advocating that we undo any of those at this time, because if we have sufficient personnel and if we have a run of voting on Election Day, which could happen because, as you know, none of us thought a month ago that people would be as concerned about the Postal Service as they are today. We don't know what a month from now will bring, let alone 2 months from now. My suggestion would be that I think the staff's proposal, which I realize is a little premature to talk about since they haven't officially put it on the table yet, I think it's very good. I think that it makes much more sense for us to see what our personnel situation is and to consider how close the sites are to each other when we decide if we do need to make cutbacks because we don't have enough people. Because obviously combining the sites that are nearby each other makes the most sense compared to eliminating sites that that don't have something that's that close by. But if we do have very long lines at either at Boer Park, for example, which we have had in the past, which we had lines at Boer Park on Election Day in the primary. It would be useful to have Gaithersburg High School available as an alternative. So my own view is that we should proceed with all of those sites, that we should keep the Executive Office Building as their early voting site, and that we can adapt to on our Election Day early voting site based on what we learn between now and then. Thank you.
You know, EOB, which I cover a lot, people knows where the parking space is. Besides, in the senior system building, they walk. They walk to the EOB, and also is the buses which bring people from Korean American and Chinese American. And since we publicize the parking, which the county executive always provides us free, people are using it. I don't think parking is a problem anymore. And handicap is really across the street from it, and nobody complains about parking or even handicap or anything like that, as far as I'm covering it for God knows how many years.
Okay, thank you.
Keep EOB.
Thank you. We'll pick this up when we discuss the plan that Margaret presents later in the meeting. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much. Thanks to you all. Take care.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, Senator. We need your support.
Margaret, do we have any other public comments?
No, sir.
I always do this.
Thanks.
Is anybody on the line that wants to make a comment that didn't sign up or didn't know how to do that or that they should? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Margaret's election director report.
Yes, with regards to personnel, I am somewhat going to defer to Allison, but overall, the voting service manager position is moving forward at a snail's pace. The budget freeze was lifted, and we are in the process of trying to fill recruiter, trainer, and data processing positions. Some of the trainers, besides updating the training material, are backfilling to assist the voter services people to process applications. And we are continuing to review not only the staffing levels of voter services, but the equipment needs of voter services. Allison, do you want to add to this reporting?
County employees.
Oh,
You want me to say that?
yes, do.
The only thing that I will add is that an appeal has gone out to have some county employees who are on administrative leave because their facilities are closed due to COVID to come work for us in the interim. And so we're in the process of trying to nail down how many individuals that might be and work through the logistics of how to get them on board and able to, to work for us in the interim.
And one very exceptional piece of good news, and that is that Michelle Gonda was identified and recognized by the county as a high flyer for her efforts and pulling together her team to conduct the canvass in June.
Yay.
Well deserved,
Congratulations.
very well deserved.
Okay,
Great.
budget, Kira?
Is Kira on?
Kira,
She's on.
do you want to start with the previous fiscal year?
She didn't unmute herself yet.
Kira, unmute yourself,
She
please.
just did.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. And let me just share my spreadsheet. We're going to start with apply.
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
Whoever just did that unmuted everybody. Lisa must have done it.
I just lost everybody.
Kira?
Oh, good. Okay. As long as I'm not alone, I'm alone.
Kara, unmute yourself again.
David, can you hear me? This is Jackie.
Okay, so I made the mistake of muting everyone so that the music would stop playing, but I'm going to assume you all can still hear me.
Now we can.
No, when you muted me, I couldn't hear you.
Maybe we should mute the sound. Hey, maybe we should.
Well, we are rid of the music. So you can see this budget spreadsheet and you can hear me, so we're going to move forward.
Go ahead.
This is the final FY20 spreadsheet. See that our budgeted amount and about $600,000. And we didn't go as far above budget as one would expect. And there are a number of reasons for that. And that's because we did not have the 8 days of early voting at 11 sites. We did not have our sample or specimen ballot to over 675 registered voters. So that reduced printing and postage for that item. We decreased the number of polling places from 240 locations to 4 vote centers. So that increased moving expenses, space and lease costs, and travel expenses for staff. And we canceled election judge training from approximately mid-March when the COVID health situation really began to emerge, reducing temporary staff costs. And instead of our usual over 3,000 election judges, we had under 300 serving. So that reduced our cost in election judge stipends. So even though we went over budget, it was not quite as bad as it could have been. Do you all have any questions for FY20? I'm sorry, only the board members are allowed to unmute themselves at this point because we don't want any background music playing.
Kira, this is David. So does that mean that we ended up returning almost $600,000 to the Treasury?
Absolutely not. That means we will be explaining ourselves for why we went over budget.
Oh, we're 600,000 over, but we're not as much over as we would have been.
Yes.
Okay.
Kira?
Thank you.
Mr. Allen, does this mean we have to ask the county for a supplement?
We asked for a supplement that was not granted.
So at this point, we are asking for the end of the year transfer, so we still have to explain why we went over budget, and a lot of that had to do with our state bill, because we spent over $3.1 million in our total state bill expenditures.
And do we have
Even though we underspent some line items, we overspent in others. And one of the largest cases of that is in our SBE state line item.
And I have a dumb question. So Alan, I see the great big difference between 50,000 and 847,000. And so what basically is the cause of the difference?
That was specifically for the absentee ballot cost. So yes, that's a lot of the difference, but that specifically had to do with the postage and the ballots for vote by mail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kira.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the state charges?
Sure. CARES covered the cost of the delivery of the ballot drop boxes. We paid for about 50% of the return postage of the absentee postage that we paid for when voters mailed back their ballots. So CARES funding covered that. CARES funding also reduced the cost of the ballots, but it still costs about $800,000. And so even though we did not deploy as much equipment, as you know, every year we still have to pay for all the equipment that we have, or that we rent from SBE.
Is the equipment rental the same as what we expected? I mean, what is it that is larger than expected?
So, the equipment rental can go up if we order more printers. So sometimes we did have to order more printers, and I think Janet can speak to that, because I think we had to order more for each vote center. There are a few more routers that had to be ordered, small items. There's printer paper. There is charges for maintenance in the SBE warehouse. But in terms of equipment, we pay for that every year, and that's pretty standard unless we order more, and then there may be an additional $50,000 or so per quarter. But that's pretty standard. Those things are standard costs. There's charges for the number of ballots we order. There's equipment charges for when you see handicap signs. All of these are things we get from the state.
Right, but those are things we get from the state always.
David,
I'm trying to understand
David, this is Margaret.
that our state bill was larger than expected.
David, this is
about 3.1.
Right, so I'm trying to get a sense as to what accounts for the difference. Have we always paid for program management in the past?
David, this is Margaret.
And I believe that if we look back, our line item for SBE, or our total funding for SBE this year, was lower than it was last year. And then you add in an extra $100,000.
You are no longer muted.
David, this is Margaret. David, this is Margaret. Part of the problem we have with the state bill is that we submitted and notified them, I believe in November, was the fact that the anticipated planned billing was, I believe, 1.4 million greater than what the county council and the county executive had originally budgeted for, or had originally planned on. The county under budgeted this department on the state line item by approximately $1.4 million. Is that correct, Kara?
I don't recall the exact amount, but our budgeted amount was about 1.6, and our anticipated bill amount was about 2.9. So yes, you're about correct.
So that was the first problem. Additionally, we had to pay for all the week that the ballots, the week that the governor made his proclamation, emergency proclamation, we had finished receiving all of the printed ballots for election day and vote by mail or absentee. And so we had to pay for all of those ballots besides the ballots that were mailed to the voters through C-Change. So there were significant costs that we still had to absorb. So that the state board billing really is the big issue, and it has been the issue historically in the last 2 or 3 years. We've identified that it is structural deficit to the Office of Management and Budget as well as the County Council, and they just continue to underfund.
And so I think, David, you were actually present in our last meeting when we presented the anticipated bill for FY21. And you see, let's move on to the new spreadsheet. Can you all see the FY21 budget? Is it up on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you see, I believe you saw the presentation that was internal to you all, and you know that our anticipated billing is near $3 million this year. And you see our current funding for the State Board of Elections is. And you know that last year our billing was over $3 million.
I'm sorry, Kira, which line is it that shows what the current funding for the State Board of Elections is?
So it's a pale yellow line, and it says State Board of Elections fees. Because as you know, we restructured here to include it all in one line item.
Yeah, I never quite understood that. Why do we do it all in one line item?
Why didn't we, or why did we?
Why did we?
I'll answer the question.
Why did we move to less specificity?
We moved because that's no longer how we receive the state bill. Back in I believe it was 2012, I found historical records that used to separate each line item by MD voters and things of that nature, where SBE used to break down the bill in that way. That's no longer how we receive the invoice.
And now we just receive an invoice that gives us a total to pay?
It lists out different items where I can tell you what was spent on waste collection at the warehouse. But that doesn't go to project management. It does not go to MD voters. It does not go to leases. It just goes to, it all comes down to one big amount. So even though there's specificity in what is being paid, it is not broken out into those previously arranged amounts or arranged categories that used to be there. And we've checked with other local boards such as Prince George's, and they also do their billing this way as well.
Does that mean that the state changed it for all of them, or that they used to do something different for us?
I can't say how their invoices looked, but I can tell you that our invoice no longer has MD voters listed as a category.
It just seems to me that anytime any vendor, and I realize the state's not technically a vendor, but they're like a vendor, anytime anyone builds us something and gives us less specificity, that gives us less ability to know what it's based on. And I'm particularly curious about that program management line, because I think what they're telling us is that we're paying for their program management. And I'm not exactly sure why we are. I mean, don't they get appropriated funds to run their office? I thought we were supposed to be paying them for services that they provide us, or for certain things that kind of by law we split 50-50. I'm not quite sure why their program management is in that category.
I don't think that's something I can quarrel about, but I can tell you that when I have questions.
I agree with David. I wish we could find out that. I think that's a good question.
Well, I'm not so
Thank you.
certain that's something I can quarrel about, but I can tell you that whenever I have questions about the number of black carts or poll books, I call Janet and ask her, and she can attest to me asking questions about when she receives a new black cart or another poll book or how many she has currently in inventory. So you can absolutely ask my fellow staff members if they receive calls.
And my comment wasn't directed at you, Kira, at all.
Right.
My comment was directed partially at the state, but because you're asking the kinds of questions that we want to ask of the state. If all we needed was a bottom line, you could just tell us, the total and not give us a spreadsheet like you do every month. But we appreciate the specificity, but it sounds like the state is giving us less and less of that. And yet we have to go to the county and ask for more money because their bill goes up. So I'm just thinking it would make sense for us to have more specificity rather than less, and certainly not less than we had before. I never felt, I've been on the board since 2011, and now he's been on longer, so maybe she has more along these lines, but I've never felt like the bill we got from them is particularly specific. I just feel like now it's even less so.
David, maybe the answer is that we ask the state. That the answer doesn't lie within Montgomery County. Maybe we need to send a letter to the state to ask. Would that be the appropriate thing to do?
Or maybe not even a letter, maybe some other form of communication. I'm not trying to make something bigger than it is. I'm just trying to get a sense of what we're being of what we're being charged for. And I realize it may not be the place of our county office budget person to your job is not necessarily that. But I don't know if our staff has any suggestions for what we can do to get more specifics about the state fees.
Evidently not.
David, this is
can help us out on this.
David, this is Margaret. We've identified this issue with the Office of Management and Budget. We have identified this issue with the Maryland Association of County Officials, and obviously the Maryland Association of Election Officials have also identified this issue. I don't know what to tell you. We have identified the issue. The county is aware of the fact that we have continued to have a structural deficit, and with regards to the issues of the state billing through project management staff and MD voters, et cetera, this is a policy decision that needs to be handled at the legislative level.
But I suggest that we deal with this after the election. I think it's an important issue, but in light of needing the need to move on,
I'm fine with that. I do think it's something for us to pay attention to, but not necessarily right now.
I agree.
No, good point. I agree
No,
too.
item to take up later, Lisa.
Yes. Margaret, we go to, thank you, Kira.
Will do.
voter registration, Margaret?
Yes, I sent the statistics of the voter link to everything that's been processed through the end of July. The Green Party petition is complete. The Libertarian petition is still in the process, and I think I'm going to let Kevin address the 9-district precinct petition before when he speaks. With regard, is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay. State Board of Elections. The State Board asked the local boards on their recommendations for vote centers to have the submission to the State Board staff no later than August 24th. I believe the RFP for outreach and media contract with the state is final. Montgomery County submitted all the PPE supply orders to, and we amended it several times due to the new logistical requirements. We did send a letter, and I believe Lisa sent you a copy to request that a portion of the costs related to the SMS texting be billed back to us, and then SBE is still exploring the data processing center for processing vote-by-mail applications. Supposedly, the Board of Public Works appeared positive about this matter. The State Board asked us, the directors, to commit to a decision to participate in the SBE call center by August 14th. Montgomery County will participate with the call center due to lack of space in this facility to have a call center, plus process all the applications that are coming through and then receive the ballots back. Poll book software will be updated in September. To get precinct-based election results will require 5 weeks of proofing in English and Spanish for the optical scan, ballot marking device, and the ballot web delivery. We're expecting now that the beginning of the ballot proofing process is already slid back now to August 24th, and it has to be completed by September 16th. The next day, Uocava military overseas ballots will begin going out. The drop boxes will be utilized if LBEs wish to use or to add to our complement. We were notified that it is possible that 100% of the cost would be absorbed by local government. We still have the same security requirements, but because of the issues surrounding the U.S. Postal Service, we did increase our request for drop boxes so that they are at all early voting centers as well as the election day locations. Chris will still coordinate with county police, security, and the school system. We are adding an additional security feature, and the number of units that we will receive will be dependent completely on the manufacturer. We expect to receive an update hopefully this Thursday on the number of drop boxes that we will be receiving at the election directors meeting. All of the post-election equipment.
Margaret, may I ask a question about that?
Yes.
This is David. When you say the number will be determined after we hear from the manufacturer, are you saying, I believe that the staff proposal calls for 41 of them? And I guess I'm asking whether you're saying that you think it may be less than 41, or are you saying that you think that we may have the ability to have more than 41?
Well, it's definitely not more. I'm not even sure we'll get the 41.
You're saying that the proposal is based on being able to get those from the manufacturer, but there's some question as to whether there'll be sufficient supply once the order has been given.
The order was given
I understand.
last week. The
Okay.
manufacturer does not know if he or she can complete the number that Maryland has requested in time. So,
Right.
the manufacturer
There's been a bit of a
is
run
going
on
to get
Dropbox.
back to the State Board of Elections staff to advise the staff as to what the expected delivery date will be.
Okay. And my other question is, I think you said in there somewhere that there is the possibility that 100% of the cost of the drop boxes will come to the local government.
Yes, that's
And
true.
I find that somewhat curious. Why is that? Does the state not support drop boxes?
I don't know, sir. I agree with you. I thought it was a 50-50
maybe-
cost.
Yeah, well, maybe when we get to new business, we can talk about that, because we already know that there's a letter from the state senator to the state board about the cost of the absentee ballot applications. I find it really curious that the state would not be paying for at least half of the drop boxes. But anyway, perhaps we can discuss that under new business. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Going further,
Okay.
the new plan for the voting now is from October 26th through November 3rd. This will require that on the evening of November 2nd, all scanners and poll books will be removed and completely replaced with all new equipment programmed for Election Day. This is necessary or a consequence that there will be no election night results. If we don't do this, there will be no election results from early voting available until Wednesday. So the new plan will require that we replace the scanners and the poll books and the BMDs, and they will be completely replaced with all new equipment. The memory sticks will also be replaced to reflect Election Day, and the necessary, so that election results from early voting will be available. And the poll books that we'll have to, huh?
We don't have to do it. They just said it on the
Okay. All right, so the poll book issue has been resolved. But basically what this boils down to is that for our staff, we're going to be switching out equipment the evening of November 2nd, getting ready for the election on November 3rd, and we ultimately will be working for about 48 hours with little or no sleep. So with that, I'm going to flip to Board Attorney.
Good afternoon. So we're doing a couple things, obviously, with the changes that have been recently made. We're going to have to do amended right of entry agreements with our early voting sites to also include Election Day and change the dates in the agreements. Those revisions are being made and forwarded to Montgomery County for their review, and the City of Gaithersburg and Sandy Spring Volunteer Fire Company. So that should be finalized in the next week or so. To reflect that, we need to get another new agreement with the City of Rockville to use its drop box, which I believe was never removed, but we still need an agreement for the general election for that, and I'm working on getting that done. Margaret mentioned the MoCo 9 petition. It's being finalized, it's being proofread. A determination will be issued by Friday, but it is my understanding that more than 10,000 valid signatures have been collected, so the determination will be that there are enough signatures for the question to appear on the ballot. But the exact number is still being finalized. The determination will be issued either Thursday or Friday, and will be posted to the Board of Elections website, and a copy will be sent to the county executive as well as the president of the county council. So that's where we stand with the MoCo 9 petition. I had gotten an email actually regarding the return of ballots since we are expecting so many vote by mail ballots and the use of the drop boxes, and I had gotten actually a question from another attorney from a different board of elections on whether someone else can return the ballot for an individual. And really what's at issue here is whether 9307 is in play, which is the use of an agent in absentee ballot process. And it's when a qualified applicant may designate a duly authorized agent to pick up and deliver an absentee ballot under the subtitle. I do not believe the section is applicable when an individual requests an absentee ballot, fills out the ballot without anyone's assistance, signs the oath, seals it, and then goes ahead and gives it to someone else to go ahead and either put in the Postal Service, which could happen, put in a drop box, which could happen, or deliver to the Board of Elections. So the question sort of by summary would be, could you drop off a relative or friend or neighbor's ballot? Could the Democratic and Republican clubs pick up ballots and deliver them to BOE, drop boxes, mailboxes? Could the parties go ahead and pick up ballots to be dropped off at the BOE, drop boxes, or mailboxes? Could a political campaign, a nonpartisan neighborhood community, or volunteer students? And my reading of 9307, because it is not applicable and there is no other prohibition, is yes. You can go ahead and, with the voters' consent, anyone can go ahead and place the ballot either in the postal stream or at a drop box or delivered to the Board of Elections. Now, this of course assumes that this is not a voter that requires any assistance in either applying for or completing their ballot. But if you're someone who simply wants someone else to go ahead and deliver the ballot, I see nothing under Maryland law that would prohibit it.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Kevin?
Oh, shoot. This is Diane. Can you hear me?
Diane, you first.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? I'm trying to unmute Karen.
We can hear you.
Okay. You know, it just strikes me that what you just described sounds an awful lot like ballot harvesting. Allowing whoever to pick these things up and deliver them. Doesn't that sound suspiciously like ballot harvesting? And that maybe 9307, unless I misunderstood everything you just said, is an attempt to make sure there is not ballot harvesting?
Well, 9307 is for an individual who needs to designate someone to actually pick up the ballot and deliver it. I don't think 9307 applies in a situation where the individual is able to fill out the absentee ballot application, they receive the absentee ballot, and they complete their ballot, sign it, and then someone else is simply going to return it. Quite frankly, I'm not real sure how we would even enforce it. If someone in my household were to say, are you going to the Board of Elections, Kevin, and you mind dropping my ballot off in my drop box, in the Board of Elections drop box, how would we prohibit that from happening anyway?
Okay.
And why would we?
I was extrapolating
So-
to a broader universe.
Diane, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kevin, if I understood you correctly, the one exception to what you said was for someone who needs assistance in filling out their ballot. Is it still true that if I assist my mom with her ballot, I sign, the certificate of assistance, and then I hand the ballot to my brother and he drops it into the drop box, that's okay, right?
That's fine.
The only issue is that whoever assists the voter has to sign the certificate.
Correct. That's
And then
correct.
Otherwise, what you just said, because I've heard talk about this from all kinds of different organizations who are all trying to figure out ways to avoid the Postal Service if they have to. And it sounds like if my neighborhood civic association wants to offer as a service to people in our neighborhood. They say, hey, I'm going to Board of Elections tomorrow. Anyone who wants me to drop off their ballot, I'll drop it off for you. It sounds like the answer is as long as the voter has signed the oath and sealed the envelope so that the person doing the delivery is just doing the delivery, it sounds like that is legal.
That is correct. That is my interpretation, and that's the Assistant Attorney General's interpretation as well.
Okay, it would be very helpful for that information to be put on our website somewhere as being our view. But I appreciate that, and I also wanted to point out in support of your view, Kevin, that I just was looking at 9307, and 9307 uses the word "and" between pickup and deliver. So it's, a qualified applicant may designate a duly authorized agent to pick up and deliver an absentee ballot under this subtitle.
That's correct.
This is not that. This is something different.
And that's why I don't believe the section
Thank you.
is even applicable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is Jackie. Kevin, I have a question that might not be for this, but let me go with it. I've been very, very uncomfortable with the idea that the nursing homes are going to allow the people that work there to help or fill out applications for people. I'm very uncomfortable with that. Then could they fill out everybody's application for them, and maybe or maybe not sign the paper that goes with it, and then themselves take them and deliver them? This
is the application for them to get an absentee ballot, or a vote by mail ballot, excuse me?
Yes. No, could the nursing home people deliver these ballots after themselves having filled them out to the people in the nursing home?
No. The ballot gets delivered by the Board of Elections. And the Board of Elections picks it up. That's all part of the nursing home program that the board has.
Oh, all right. The Board of Elections picks them up?
Yes. We're not allowed in there, but we deliver the ballots in a plastic sealed document. Each ballot is named to each individual, and then the ballots, after they're voted or not voted, depending on the individual, are returned back to the Board of Elections. We make an appointment, say, to pick up at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and those ballots are then sit in our office for 48 hours, and then we process them in.
Thank you.
And this is Diane. I have a quick follow-up to that. I think Jackie made a good point. Vis-a-vis people in the nursing homes, helping them fill these out, am I correct in understanding that if they were to receive assistance from any staffer or employee at a nursing home, that person would have to sign the affidavit of assistance, correct? That'll be
correct.
That is correct, Diane.
correct?
That is correct.
Is there any tutorial given when these are dropped off? Maybe a reminder, if you're going to help somebody, you need to sign an affidavit. I mean, I've heard stories over the years of things that go on in nursing homes with assisting, quote unquote, residents with ballots. I mean, we've all heard the stories. Is there any sort of, I don't want to say admonition because that sounds a little bit offensive or aggressive, but is there any?
We have a nursing home, actually we have several in nursing home coordinators, and Bobby Payne is the supervisor who coordinates with these nursing homes and the staff assigned to this specific program. And we go through a tremendous amount of detail as well as training. Training of our election judges that are assigned to that facility. So, I mean, we do the best of our ability to advise the nursing home's administrative staff how to best proceed and to protect the sanctity of the vote.
Okay, and Margaret, are you comfortable? And could somebody please mute? And this is part of my learning curve, so thank you everyone for your patience. But Margaret, are you comfortable that this is all, that an adequate job is being done on this? I'm not saying that to accuse anybody at all. I'm just, since I'm new, there is an affirmative effort put in. You said we have with coordinators to make sure this is done properly. Again, we've all heard stories over the years. Not here, not Montgomery County, I'm saying, but, you know, in general. Are you comfortable that we're aggressive enough? Effective enough?
I have utmost faith in my staff that they are going to direct the nursing home staff how to proceed and conduct the election. I have utmost faith in my staff. I can't promise you what's going to happen in a nursing home facility, but I doubt any one of the nursing home facilities wants any greater negative press than they've already received.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I just think it's a really extremely important issue that we need to talk about before this is done. And who needs to mute their phone? Thanks, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks, Kevin. Now, this is Jim. We're getting to the general election plan that Margaret has distributed to us in writing. I suggest procedurally that Margaret make her presentation, including, naming all the sites that you're recommending, so we have a clear record. And then after she makes her presentation, I was going to make a motion to approve the plan. We'll have a second, and then we can discuss Margaret's plan in that format. Is that okay, Margaret? So could you your...
The only thing I'm going to do is I am going to answer David's questions as part of my presentation.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
So, getting started, obviously we been meeting since the governor made his decision, and the presidential general election will be conducted by mail. Application will be mailed to all registered voters, and they'll be returned here and to be processed. The election days for the 2020 election begin October 26th through November 3rd. The board approved 11 early voting sites in Montgomery County in November of 2019. Election day voting sites. The 11 early voting sites are the Activity Center at Ford Park in Gaithersburg, Damascus Community Rec Center, Damascus Executive Office Building, Rockville, Germantown Community Rec Center of Germantown, Jane Lawton Community Rec Center, Chevy Chase, Marilyn Praisner Community Rec Center, Burtonsville, Mid-County Communities Rec Center, Silver Spring, Potomac Community Rec Center, Potomac, Silver Spring Civic Building, Silver Spring, Sandy Spring, Volunteer Fire Station, Oak Room, Ballroom, Sandy Spring, Wheaton Library and Community Rec Center, Wheaton. So those would be the 11 early voting centers that you selected. Our list of recommended election day sites are as follows. We selected the two alternate early voting sites of White Oak and Dasick, as well as Einstein High School, Bethesda Chevy Chase High School, Clarksburg High School, Magruder High School, Damascus High School, Gaithersburg High School, Blake High School, Kennedy High School, Blair High School, Northwest High School, Northwood High School, Pate Branch High School, Poolsville High School, Quince Orchard High School, Montgomery High School, Rockville High School, Seneca Valley High School, Sherwood High School, Springbrook High School, Wooten High School, Whitman High School, Johnson High School, Watkins Mill High School, Wheaton High School, and Winston Churchill High School. Today, after working on this for what feels like a long time, I also received a approval to utilize the Montgomery County Conference Center at the Marriott, which is off of 355, somewhat off of Old Georgetown Road, as a location. Yeah, I know, but okay. The advantage to that location, and one of the reasons I was looking at it, is because it's right by a metro stop. One of the advantages to using the high schools, all of the high schools, it's a very clean message for public information to send out that says, these are all of the locations that you can go to on Election Day. It also is primarily on major bus routes or some sort of public transit, as well as most people know the high schools of their neighborhoods. We had intended, it is my intent, to have a drop box at all of the high schools, as well as the White Oak and Dasic location, plus the 11 early voting centers. We would also utilize the Rockville City Hall drop box, and I wish you could see this, but I have a small drop box that we were going to recommend going to Leisure World. There's about 10,000 registered voters at that location. There is a post office on site, but this could be placed, we don't know, first of all, we don't even know if Leisure World will allow it, but it could be placed in a location so that individuals could drop their voted ballot in that location. Additionally, we are going to limit in-person ballot pickup here because of the social distancing aspects that are a requirement of this facility. The Department of General Services has been out here and are in the process of going to install wall-to-wall plexiglass, and on Election Day, access will be primarily for ballot pickup and drop-off at the box or some sort of curbside for those individuals. This is for the safety of employees and to make sure that the COVID-19, this facility will try to stay as safe as possible so that we can meet the certification deadline of December 7th, which is when the state board plans to certify. Obviously, we need to do it sooner than that. The COVID-19 precautions, besides the Board of Elections, we've also ordered plexiglass for all of our early voting sites, as well as the proposed Election Day sites on Election Day, and we plan to live stream the canvass process via our website. We are hiring temporary employees. We talked about that earlier. We've ordered antibacterial wipes, a cloth, surgical mask. All the voting centers will be set up with adequate interior spacing for social distancing. Plexiglass will temporarily be installed at each location to make sure that we have proper distancing, as also for the protection of the election judges. We've ordered, the state board has also ordered enough hand sanitizer we're trying to utilize state funds to bring on temporaries to work at the early voting centers as well as election day to handle the COVID-19 sanitizing aspect of it, to wipe down the equipment for election day and during early voting. On the personnel side, as I mentioned earlier, hiring is underway. Allison and Lisa Marino have been working very hard once we finally got the hiring freeze lifted. Right now, we are developing the training material, which is an interactive process, but while the election judges are being trained up for that, they're also being cross-trained to learn on MD voters, to how to intake vote-by-mail requests, as well as to eventually we'll transfer them into accepting vote-by-mail return ballots. Voter registration is still processing petitions. They'll be doing incoming voter registrations. Again, these are we're also hiring temporary employees. With the amount of work that they are faced doing, we've set aside a purchase order to hire temporary staffing to provide support so that all the data entry can be done. We're looking at split shifts so that we're starting earlier and staying here later. That's still a work in progress as we try to fill these various positions. Vote by mail, the lead is Michelle Gonda and Bobby Payne. As I said, staff is being cross-trained. The State Board confirmed that Runbeck is in the process of being the vendor to mail the vote-by-mail applications. I did receive a copy of the artwork. I sent that out to the board members this morning. Supposedly, the target date to begin mailing, that is August 24th, to be completed by that Friday. The file was pulled on August 5th. There was questions asked at the last election directors meeting if they're going to pull another set of voter file of all the changes that have come since August 5th to August 24th to hopefully capture all of the individuals that have come through the system. No answer was given, but we're hoping to get an answer soon. Outreach to the nursing home and facilities has already started on July 31st. The deadline to register to vote is October 13th. To request a ballot by mail or using web delivery is October 20th. The state confirmed that SeaChange will be the vendor for mailing the ballots. The design and inserts are not available, but the first set of ballots will go out on September 17th and 18th, and the domestic ballots will begin being mailed September 28th. Voters can utilize the State Board's website to request and confirm whether a ballot has been delivered to them. Allison and Huberto will be the lead on the sample ballot and voter outreach. They're working on the artwork now to have a comprehensive picture of the sample ballot, so that includes information about vote by mail, a lot of these frequently asked questions, things that the board has talked about in the past. Don't sign your ballot, just sign the oath. We're going to use technology, social media. The county developed text response system. Huberto and I have met with county PIO to help us coordinate our message through other vehicles and listservs as such. And Huberto is Mr. Zoom. Believe me, he's doing a lot of meetings via Zoom. And the feedback has been very, very positive. Vote by mail return, our lead staff will be Mary Beth Habel. Supervisor is Chris Zizit. And they will coordinate with the U.S. Postal Service with regards to return mail as well as all of the drop boxes. Again, the board staff at this very moment has no guarantee that all of our requests to have drop boxes installed at all election day sites is a guarantee. And as soon as we find out, we will let the board know. The staff has been working and meeting with the U.S. Postal Service, the Capital District, which is our service area, and the board has confidence that the post office, especially with the deadline date of October 20th, the U.S. Postal Service will work with us to get everything on a timely basis, as long as it's moved out by the vendor timely. Chris, as always, will be working with the police department, county security, as well as now public school security with placement of the drop boxes. Intake will continue to occur at training room 1, and batching will be in training room 2. Canvas preparation will be in absentee warehouse 1, as well as training room 3. Information technology, as always, will be led by Janet Ross, Lisa Jones, Jerry Corshi. We'll use a combination of high-speed scanners and DS200, precinct scanners. The timetable for the equipment preparation is dependent upon the state board performing their necessary preliminary tasks. The warehouse is going to be reconfigured to allow for the expansion of the canvas area. Also, so our plan is to have the canvas conducted virtually. At the vote centers, we will need information technology to make sure that the poll books and laptops will be functioning through a combination of on-site video conferencing support. The canvas, once again, will be led by Michelle Gonda, and the board will, Lisa will be coordinating with Circuit Court Clerk Barbara Michaeljohn to get you all sworn in as the Board of Canvassers. Again, our recommendation is the public observation will be virtual only. The Board of Canvassers would meet via video conference at the direction of the board attorney as the issues arise that the board needs to make judgment on voter intent. And the process that we used in the primary will be the same process. They will be in batches of 100, except now in precinct order. Ballots suitable for tabulation will be placed in the folder. They'll go over to the IT to be scanned. If they're not, then that'll be brought to the attention of the board. Election judge, Deborah Hamer, Julia Douglas, Chris Raziza, and Janet Ross are taking over the election judge recruitment. We've had a lot of really positive feedback from our election judges that we're working through. We've received approximately 200 and some individuals apply using through the governor's plea to have state employees work as election judges. I will be talking to the county executive to ask for a formal letter to all of the employees and working through our new acting chief administrative officer, Richard Madaleno, to offer administrative leave to election, besides receiving an election judge stipend, to county employees who serve on election day. Besides the efforts that Allison had mentioned earlier about those individuals that are county employees but their function or their departments are not fully functional. To minimize the risk of COVID-19, Janet, working with our lead trainer, taken on a new process in which we utilize the current election judge module. The individual will still go through our webpage. They will sign up. They'll be required to take a quiz. They'll be required to read the first 4 chapters. Then they will go into an online interactive model They will have to complete that interactive training, and then they will, after they pass their quizzes and that, then they will come to one of several locations, but primarily the Montgomery County Division of Fleet Management and Transit Center operation to do hands-on training. Hands-on training is being set up so that it's socially distant and that there will be little or no interaction, so that in the past we had people move in groups from one workstation, everybody working on poll books, then scanners. Instead, we're using more equipment, but one individual will be assigned a scanner, a ballot marking device, a poll book, and besides their training material. Operations and logistics and supplies. Lead is Ryan White and Chris. We have been literally working days on trying to figure out how to order the correct amount of ballots for all of the locations. You need to understand that every voting location must receive 255 precinct ballots because of the precinct ballot requirement. This is a huge logistical challenge, and we are just in the process of trying to. I think we've came pretty close to Saturday closing up the what we think will be our ballot order. So we'll be working once the state board starts sending us the reports to do the ballot proofing. We will do our ballot order for not only the optical scan, but for the ballot marking, or what's called the ballot activation paper. And of course, there's the wonderful online ballots. Going on to the questions that were sent to me by David and I believe all the board members. Question number 1, the tally of the vote by mail applications seems to say that we've received 90,000 applications and about 51,000 of these have been processed, that 40% of the applications are in backlog status. How long is the current lag time? Probably the most important thing to remember in terms is we do have an increasing number of people that are applying for this. The number of web delivery appears to be increasing, but we're unable to provide a definitive number at this time. Addressing the backlog, yes, we are reaching out, trying to fill temporary vacancies, but that is also why the Maryland Association of Election Officials have strongly advocated for weeks that the state board needs to set up a data processing center to provide assistance. Additionally, once we get through a lot of these petitions, I will have staff opening up. We are working overtime, at least I think we're working 16 hours a week overtime so far. Are we still preparing for 30% of the ballots to be web delivery? I'm going to estimate that trend will remain the same. Has the staff done quantitative analysis and used it to estimate staffing and equipment needed to handle the volume and to justify our request to begin counting before Election Day? Well, the only way we're going to make that December 7th date or prior to that is for us to upgrade, up the number of staff. We do not have a final answer, but we will develop an answer for you in the future. May a voter who requested an online ballot delivery change their ballot to a mail-in request? Yes. How do they do that? They have to complete a new application. Bad side is this increases our workload. It's repetitive. How will this be published? It'll be included as part of our frequently asked questions and will be included in the sample ballot. If changes are permitted, can our board send out email communications to everyone in Montgomery County who requested online ballot delivery explaining the difference? Board staff needs to investigate this and get back to the board members. What automated equipment? Do you have automated time stamping machines? No. Do we have automated envelope openers? Yes, we had those in the primary. I believe we have 7 or 9. We are going to have them serviced. They should all be available. Envelope and ballot sorters. If we don't have it, can we get it? There are products available, but the lead time for procurement and installation is burdensome, and for all extents and purposes, it's too late. It was too late a month ago. Have you estimated our staffing needs for the vote counting? We're working on it. Our focus has been trying to nail down these election day sites, because that is the highest priority. How much are the canvassers paid? 100 there. We utilize the election judges as canvassers. That has always been our traditional pool. That will continue to be our pool. They receive a $180 stipend with a $30 training fee, and of course they would receive the $100 hazard pay. What are the qualifications? The same as an election judge. Have we reached out to the postal office? Yes, we have. Can we post a video explaining to voters how to vote by mail, signing the oath? Staff can research this request with the state board or the county PIO. Are you asking for drop boxes with snouts? The drop box has been designed by state board, and there will be no changes made. Can we have staff or election judge take ballots from the car to the drop box when there's not an ability to use the drop box from the car? Well, staff will investigate it. The U.S. Postal Service does have many drop box locations, so will all the drop boxes be the same? Yes, they will, and and they're not going to change it because their entire public information campaign is focused on the current design. Why does the staff plan say residents only for Leisure World? That's because Leisure World has historically restricted the public from coming on the campus. It should be noted there is a U.S. Postal facility on the Leisure World campus, but if someone is driving on to the campus to visit someone, of course they can drop their envelope in there. It's just that if the board expects us to advertise the drop box that Janet showed you, I don't know if they'll allow us on there with a drop box. Will the specimen ballot be mailed to all county voters, including the drop box locations as well as early voting centers and election day vote centers? Yes, that's required by law. Not the drop boxes, but obviously we want to make sure people know where they're at. Can ballots be sent to the board by Federal Express, UPS, and other delivery services? Yes, and they always have been. Again, they have to be postmarked November 3rd, always, or date stamped. Can the staff says public observation of the canvass will be virtual? Yes, it is, for the safety of all of the canvassers. How many cameras do you plan to have? MSM Teams restricts to 4 cameras. 4 cameras. Is there anything to be done to see and hear that it? Okay, we have bought cameras, and we did purchase microphones, so hopefully you'll be able to hear better. Public can observe the duplication process virtually. Canvassers will duplicate ballots as needed. We worked as a team in the primary. The people sat at either end of the table. We always had 2 individuals that do not belong to the same party, and that's what we did in the primary, and we're not doing that any differently. Can we have wait times on our website for not only early voting site for election day? Staff will investigate. Can we use Twitter and Facebook? We can certainly investigate that also. Can the flashing roadsides be used for Gaithersburg and Boer Park? We can certainly talk to public safety in regards to that matter. The state is allowing us to use the timestamp ballots prior to, okay. The staff is talking about using this whole timestamp prior to November it's earlier than that, but let's say through November 1st. And staff is discussing that, and we'll get back to the board. The number of voters who've already submitted their mail-in ballot have received emails from the Maryland State Board acknowledging receipt, but not everyone. Any idea who gets them? No, but the staff will investigate. And then Senator Kagan, recommendations on how this election will be paid for should be made to the county executive for the upcoming legislative session. So, basically, staff has been working for weeks now, trying to develop a plan for the election. Today, I believe I sent this information to you. We have, for Election Day, 232 chief judges available who say they're going to work. We have 1324 that say they're going to work on Election Day. We have 35 chief judges that are committed to working during early voting, 1,050. I checked this morning and we had approximately 272 new applicants to serve that have filled out an application. I want to point out that many times people will fill out an application to serve as an election judge, and once they get on the phone with the recruiter and they start finding out the specific details of what's required, they start rethinking their position. We do have one of the we have very many opportunities to serve. If you do not wish to serve from 5:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, we have part-time positions, we have closer positions, we have, if you're brave enough, you can be a COVID person to work the line. We are going to have greeters, trying to keep the social distancing. So while they may say no to a full day of work, our recruiters, and like I said, we are bringing more on, are trying to convince them that maybe a part-time commitment is what they want to do. And then, like I said, we are going to the current administration to ask for county employees to assist us. So, first of all, I would have loved to have told you that we could meet today and approve all of the high school locations, as well as Nancy Dasik and White Oak and the conference center, but because the conference center came in so late, we do have to give 72 hours notice. So if you want to utilize the Marriott Conference Center, we're going to have to meet, was it Thursday morning? Thursday afternoon was the earliest we can meet. We have to give 72 hours notice. 48 hours notice. So, there you go.
Margaret, this is Jim. Just to complete the plan for the record, the voting times have been changed to 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., early voting and election day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And any word on when we can start the canvass?
No, sir. We're hoping to hear in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. And in the plan, you want to add the Marriott Conference Center only for election day?
Yes. That's all we can get.
And we talked about this in the primary, just for the record. If someone appears to vote without a mask, what is our plan?
We take them outside.
They're not. This is Kevin.
Can you please speak up?
Yeah, this is Kevin.
We can't hear the answer.
Okay. Well, the answer is that they're not permitted in the building, and they would have a ballot brought out to them, which they could fill out outside if they refuse a mask that will be offered to them. But they will not be permitted into the county building if they refuse to wear a mask.
Who's going to be outside to stop them?
Well, the greeter,
There's a greeter that's outside the building,
but then they would have the chief.
who would then get the chief judge who would deal with the individual. We had 2 of these individuals in the primary.
Well, let me do this for logistics. It's Jim. Let me make a motion. We'll have a second, and then we'll open it up for discussion on these points. And also on the Marriott Conference Center, we can't approve that or disapprove it today. We'd have to meet again. Okay. All right, well, this is Jim. I'm going to make a motion to approve the plan for the presidential general election on November 3rd as just presented by our election director, Margaret Jurgensen. Is there a second?
I second it.
I will second it.
Okay, any discussion? Let me just say my discussion is, well done, Margaret. Very comprehensive. Very confident that the people in this building can make this work. And I support it. The Marriott Conference Center is something new that we hadn't heard before, but you recommend that?
The reason I've been we've been working on this, Chris and I have been working on this for 6 weeks at least. The issue in that area is that we have several significant high-rise locations, as well as the Pike and Roads development, which is a multi-use. A lot of apartments are new in there. Plus, it's close to the metro stop, and the agreement with the county executive is, besides utilizing the lower level conference center, we'll have free parking there.
So is it your request that we vote on the plan excluding the Marriott Conference Center, not vote on that today and then save that for another meeting?
I don't think we can vote today on the
Yes.
Marriott.
We can't even vote on the Marriott.
Can't vote on the Marriott.
Okay. So let me amend my motion to approve the plan as presented by Margaret Jurgensen, our election director, for adding, in addition to the early voting in the high schools, the Nancy Dasik Center and White Oak. And we have a second?
I second that.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Open up the floor to further discussion.
I have some additional discussion if it's my turn.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah. Okay. First off, Margaret, this is a very impressive plan, and thank you to you and all the staff for everything you've done. You listed a number of very important public health measures that you're taking for both early voting sites and for election day polls. Could we have those efforts be put in a prominent place on our website?
I'm looking at Janet. We'll certainly try. There's a finite amount of space on that, but we will work with the county information system to see how we can best do that.
Okay, I would just say that the most important part of that for now is when we're recruiting election judges and they want to decide whether they're willing to serve. Knowing that we are taking the measures that we are taking, I think will help our recruitment. Because I think that you've been very serious about it. You were very serious about it in the primary. And I think that people may need to know that before they're comfortable with volunteering. you indicated that we do not have automated time stamping machines. Do we know whether those are hard to get?
Most of this equipment that you're
In other
referring
words,
to,
could we procure the time stamping machines? I realize that some of this stuff may not be gettable.
no,
but I don't
not
know
at
how
this
hard that
time.
is.
Not at this time. It's too late.
It's too late to get an automated time stamping machine.
It's too late to go through the procurement process to get the automated time stamping machine, and quite honestly, of all of the funds that we have to spend, that is not what the staff is. The staff would rather, that's not where staff wants the money spent. Staff sees money being spent on the automatic slicers more so than timestamp.
Okay, are we getting automatic slicers?
We have automatic slicers. We have 9 of them now. I think I ordered 2 more, but I would have to double check.
Okay. Next thing, you indicated in response to my question about the staffing for the vote counting that we traditionally hire election judges to be vote canvassers. And I'm familiar with that tradition from the canvassing that I have participated in. Of course, this year we're likely to have to canvass substantially higher numbers of ballots. Not to mention that we also have an economic situation where we may have others who are willing to serve. And I guess my question is, at what point would we be willing to consider hiring people to be canvassers who may not have been election judges, or expanding the number of people that we hire to be canvassers?
It would be determined by cost.
And you said that they get paid $180.
$180 per day, plus the $100 hazard pay,
Okay.
plus the $30 training fee.
Right? And the training fee is a one-time fee, so it's $280 a day plus the training fee,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. There also was a question that I think you inadvertently skipped. That was question 13. That's the communications plan for letting people know when and where the drop boxes are available. And particularly, I'm interested in knowing, since you say that, well, as I understand it, we voted maybe a month ago or more to add the drop boxes for the 11 early voting sites. Are we able to tell the public at this point that that's a done deal, and is it just the election day sites that we don't know for sure if we're getting them?
David, when I'm not the only election director that asked this question, but when they took the 5 drop boxes that we have, they made it very clear to us that there was no guarantee that they were going to come back. So at this time period, I am not willing to say anything until the state assures me when and where those drop boxes will be, when they'll be, how many we're going to get, and when they plan to deploy them. I know that Chris has a meeting scheduled in the next 5 days with the State Board's transportation people, and hopefully many of those questions will be answered. But that information has to be finalized very soon, because that drop box information will need to be provided to the State Board's vendor, C-Change, to be included with the information that when the ballot is mailed to the voter. And of course we'll need it now, because Allison is going to have, and Humberto and some of the other staff are going to have to begin laying out the sample ballot. So we need to know in the next 10 days or 14 days. So I'm not gonna give you a definitive answer because I don't have a definitive answer.
No, understood, but the state board is meeting 2 days from now. And perhaps we can get them to give us a more definitive answer.
They're waiting for the
That's- I-
manufacturer to give them a definitive answer.
Waiting for what?
They're waiting for the manufacturer.
Oh, manufacturer. Thank you.
Okay, I know I don't need to tell you, and we all know that we're getting a lot of interest in people from, emails, calls, everything for drop boxes, and a story on the news last night as well. And so, obviously, the sooner we can get that information out. But you're saying that even at this point, you're not comfortable with saying that we have the 11 because they didn't promise that to us yet. So hopefully we can get that very soon. I just have one last clarification. The question about people using Federal Express, UPS, or other delivery services, and you said that it has to be postmarked by November 3rd, but of course there's no postmark. If I go to Federal Express and I send it to you by 8 o'clock on November 3rd, and Federal Express records it in their information that I was there before 8 o'clock on November 3rd, and it arrives at our office on November 4th, is that timely filed, or does it have to arrive at our office by November 3rd at 8 o'clock?
David, I'm going to say quite honestly, historically, the board has bent over backwards to accept the all ballots. And also, if the individual signed it on November 3rd, and we are missing a date stamp, if Kevin wants, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, this is Kevin. David, it would be accepted.
Okay.
If it's dated the 3rd and there's no date stamp, there's no postmark on it, it would be accepted anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Is that
Because
if it's accepted during a window only of the next day?
No.
Are you saying?
No, the window goes until 10 days after the election, right? That's when mail has to arrive.
It has 10 a.m. the second Friday after the election.
So this is Kevin. The statute provides that the default is the postmark that's on the outside of the envelope. With no postmark there, it's the date that the person has signed it.
Okay, and so if it's sent by Federal Express or UPS or other delivery service, then we would be using the rules where there's no postmark and would be looking for the evidence that it was signed, by 8 o'clock on November 3rd.
Correct.
That we did it during the canvas, David. We did it.
Yes, that's the way we've always. It's the way we've always done it. I just wanted to get it on record because I have people asking me, they're looking for a postal service alternative, and they're asking, can they use Federal Express? And it sounds like the answer to that is yes, and that these are the rules. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood what the rules are. Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
Margaret?
Yes.
This is Alan. I've got questions about the drop boxes. The last time you gave us some prices on what the drop boxes cost. Are they any cheaper now because you're ordering a whole lot more?
I don't. I can't answer that question. I don't know. That was
So what
not
they are now?
when I ordered them. I
Yes.
ordered I ordered the number of drop boxes based on the fact that I believed that the board, as well as the community of elected officials, as well as the community, because of all of the public discourse regarding what's happening with the U.S. Postal Service, would feel comfortable with that order, and that it would be, again, a very simple message to send that we can package You know, that if you want to not use the post office, go to your high school in your neighborhood and drop it at the drop box or the 11 early voting centers. Most people know where there's a high school in their neighborhood.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Diane. Could I just add one quick question? When the final list of voting locations for Election Day are posted, will there be a bold message making it clear that you can vote at any location, any of those? I know people, we've been trained to know, we've been educated to know that we need to go to our X precinct in order to cast a valid ballot, and of course we all know that's out the window. But for anybody with questions, will it be made abundantly clear that on Election Day, wherever you reside in the county, you can go to any one of the locations? I'm just asking, actually, number one, will that be done? And if not, could we please make sure that it's made abundantly clear?
Well, I know Huberto's listening, so I'm sure he's going to do that. But secondly, Allison and Huberto are well aware that this is a different standard of behavior that we expect from the voter. So yes, we will be definitely emphasizing that anybody can go to any site that is if you're a Montgomery County resident, you can go to any site and vote on Election Day, and we will have a ballot available for you.
And Diane, this is
Thank
Kevin.
you.
That's also part of the frequently asked questions that have been revised and will be posted.
Thank you.
Alan?
I do have a question.
This is Kira. The cost per Dropbox from SDE was approximately $3,000.
Very
For
good.
Dropbox?
Yes,
That includes transportation, I take it.
that's with transportation, yes.
Is that more than before?
That was
Was there a
the part-
time before, I thought? David,
I thought that it is more than before. I thought it was about 2,000 before, but I may be wrong.
The Dropbox itself, the average cost was about $1,555, and delivery cost was about $668. Pickup cost was about $759.
When you say pickup cost, what does that mean?
That means picking it
They
up
picked up
from
the night of the election.
Oh, I see. To take the
Take it back. Yes.
Is that a local moving company which is picking these things up?
That is a state
I-
vendor.
Name of the pickup company that the state used, I don't know.
It is a state vendor that we must use because it is state equipment.
Oh, God, okay, thank you. So it's a rental fee.
Quick question.
The Dropbox isn't rental, but it is picked up and dropped off.
Thanks. Got it.
I have a question here from my budget director, budget person. The question is that the motion that was passed with regards to providing hazard pay for the election judges are in the primary. We made it a one-time $100 hazard payment. Do you want that hazard payment for the canvassers to be $100 per day?
Yeah, I thought, Jim, I thought the intent was to give them an extra $100 for each day that they work. That would be my preference.
They're not facing the public.
I agree.
I'm sorry?
They're not
They
facing the
don't-
That's what
public
we
in the
did.
canvas.
What?
They're not facing the public in the canvas. They're not actually interacting with voters.
They're back facing, they're not front facing.
Yeah. I'm asking for clarification from the board If you want the canvassers working, the election judges who are working as canvassers to receive each day worked $100 hazard payment, as we do with the election judges who are going face to face.
I would,
No, because, excuse me, let me talk. The judges were still on faces, it's more danger to their life than the canvassers. So if we want to award canvassers, should be less. Should be like $50 per day, but the $100 for the judges which are doing the voting.
We got plenty of people.
Jim, may I speak to this?
sure.
So, I don't think that we're in a position to know what is more dangerous than anything else, because the difference between facing the public when we're voting is that the exposure is very short term, whereas when you are working and canvassing with people, you're with people for much longer, and that also has an effect on how contagious the virus can be. The bottom line is that we're going to have a nearly impossible job, particularly if we aren't able to start before November the 5th. We're going to have to be getting all of this done in a month, and we need the canvassers very badly in order to not miss that time, and we may need to have lots of them in order to not miss that time. So I think it would be, I don't think we have a basis to suggest that we know that it's going to be less hazardous to work on the canvas, to work at the polls. We also don't know how many people are going to show up at the polls. I personally believe that we should, and I agree with Jim, that we should have the same $100 a day of hazard pay for the canvassers.
Jim, did you say that?
Yeah, my view is that the workers, they're putting themselves at risk. We need them. They're serving us. It's a tough time. I would support $100 a day for each day.
I would support 100 for the election judges, as we had time to think over and agree on, and we had to think it over. I am not willing to sign off on this one today. I'm just not.
Well, it's part of our recruitment.
Well, we have to start recruiting them. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly we'd be waiting for. We're not going to have a greater knowledge of
This isn't something we can take up on Thursday.
of what to expect from the virus next month's meeting than we do at this month's meeting.
Well, why don't we do this? Is Kevin. This is Kevin. Why don't we do this? Since some of the board members would like some additional time to ponder this question, and it appears that we have to have a meeting on Thursday anyway, perhaps we should just table this issue and you all can make a final decision on Thursday.
Pass this plan.
Good idea.
Thursday's fine.
Adopt the plan.
But let's get back to the plan itself, which I guess we were still at the comment stage.
Yeah, it's on the table. We've had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the plan?
Just one more quick thing, which is that the map that we were given did not include the Dasik Center and the White Oak Center, and I would just ask that they be added if that map is going to be publicized.
Well, we're going to have to add the Marriott
I think that
too.
was.
Well, but for today, we've added Dasik and White Oak for today's vote.
Yes. We will.
But we have to wait till Thursday to see
Right, I
that.
understand. I'm not suggesting that the map has to be revised between now and Thursday. And Margaret, you're right. We'd have to add another one if we approve it on Thursday. I just wanted to make sure that we include them. I thought it was a good addition on your all's suggestion to add those two community centers.
That's part of the plan we're going to vote on any minute. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the plan as presented by the election director, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, let the record be very clear that this was a unanimous vote. Thank you.
And I also, for the record, I want to commend the staff of the Board of Elections for all of the hard work they've put into pulling this all together.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're here.
Very impressed.
The media agenda. Alberto, are you? Oh,
Before we move on, do you want to establish a time on Thursday for the?
oh.
For the
We said 1:30.
I would ask for the, I have to be in court at 1:30 for about an hour and a half on Thursday.
Okay.
Sorry to be. I mean, for me, the later the better. I defer to the board.
Okay, Thursday.
Whatever works for Jim works for me.
We have a conference call with the city of Gaithersburg at 2.
Nothing in the
Can we
morning?
No, we have the election directors.
Okay.
How about 4?
4 o'clock.
Is that
4 o'clock work?
4 o'clock?
It should be pretty brief. We're just going to vote on the Marriott Center and the issue about the stipend. Correct?
Talking about half an
Correct.
hour.
Yes.
Right.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock is good, Jim?
Thursday, yes, thank you. Thursday at 4 is great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't make 4 o'clock. No, I can't, I have a course that ends at 4 o'clock, so I could jump on it like 4:15 or 4:30.
Yeah, can we make it 4:30?
Can we make it 4:30, everybody, to accommodate everybody?
Yeah.
This date is the
20th.
20th.
the 20th.
August 20th.
Elise, does that work, 4:30?
Yes, 4:30 works for me, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Okay, Thursday, we will have another call-in meeting at Thursday at 4:30. Great. All right, now we're going to the new business where Margaret requested to add media budget.
Yes. Alberto?
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, I believe Alberto sent recommended FY21 media budget. I believe he spoke with Dr. Barnes as well as Jackie. And did you approve? And everybody signed
What?
off on it. Dr. Z, why don't you take
so-
it from here?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Phillips and Dr. Barnes regarding the FY21 general election media distribution of funds. There's 2 recommended. Number 1, I would keep the allocated funds with the identified media outlets because I feel that from the beginning it's extremely diverse across different formats and also recognizing the county's diverse electorate, both generational voters and newly naturalized voters. In addition, we have worked closely with multiple nonprofit organizations, faith-based, business, and the county's Office of Community Partnerships, libraries, recreation to get the word out. So with that recommended, the only 2 adjustments I would presented to the committee board members for the communication committee was reallocating the $5,000 from Telemundo to Radio America to buy some advertising space and adding the $4,459 allocated to Twitter to Google AdWords. The rationale for the first with Radio America, the difficulties we have with Telemundo is, to be very honest, the viewership is very fickle because when it was aired, many individuals would actually, tend to do kind of their housekeeping things, whether they're getting ready for dinner or watching the news. In between with commercials, they tend to kind of focus off, and then once the news
or whatever show that we're watching starts, they would once again jump on that. The other challenge is with so many changes going on pretty much on a weekly basis, the challenge is developing a PSA which by the time the effort has been forth in developing said resource through the PIO office, getting the professional voiceover, the animation, etc., then it's obsolete. And it was extremely challenging during the primaries just to keep up with the changes. So reallocating the $5,000 from Telemundo to Radio America gives me a lot of flexibility within the same day to change a PSA if needed to reflect the changes as we move forward to October 26th pertaining to the onset of early voting and or November 3rd with the vote centers. With the digital recommendation to allocating the $4,459 into Google AdWords, with Twitter, we have a large Twitter and Facebook following as it is. And we get a lot of hits on a daily basis, and we're posting between 3 and 4 times a day. And the Google AdWords was extremely robust, and we had multiple hits and inquiries leading to individuals registering to vote or requesting to vote by mail, etc. So the Google AdWords is extremely popular. It's used heavily, and the benefit is it goes across multiple languages beyond English and Spanish. And so after presenting to the committee my recommended findings and looking at allocating the reallocation of the $5,000 from Telemundo to Radio America, which is still servicing the Spanish-speaking electorate, and then increasing Google AdWords by reallocating the $4,459 from Twitter to Google Words. They approved said recommendations, and the total will be $70,375, keeping the other media outlets as is and as leveraged during the primary election.
We still have the Facebook, right?
We have Facebook, and we have a huge following on Facebook. And like I mentioned earlier, thank you, my pleasure, and thank you for helping.
Facebook is very good.
Jim, may I ask some questions?
Sure.
Alberto, I actually have concerns about both of the changes that I want to make sure I understand what is being done here. If I understood correctly, the concern with Telemundo about echo, sorry, hearing echo. That wouldn't the concern be true for any commercial TV or radio station that watchers or listeners might be doing other things while commercials come on? I would think that would be a common concern for every media outlet that we use that is a TV or radio outlet, that would be the case. I also understand that you are something of a fixture on Radio America in free media, which I very much appreciate. I think that's obviously very important. And so I'm wondering whether the ability to procure advertising space there is needed if you are already being interviewed. You can change your message every day if they interview you with some regularity. And I'm just wondering whether we should be, changing from TV to radio under those circumstances. We have no other TV advertising that we are doing. So anyway, that was my question about that. I have a question about the other one too, but maybe we should start with that.
So as it pertains to Radio America, correct, they do provide in-kind airtime, but that's through the County Council Public Information Office. And then the other one is through the County Executive Public Information Office. There's 2 Spanish language radio shows that they have on Radio America, and on average, I will get on them once a month. So it's not a lot of airtime as it pertains to penetration, other than the show with the county executive, Lorna Virgili, the public information Spanish officer, and Lillian Mass, who's the Spanish language county council public information officer. So working with Radio America and getting airtime does work, and their penetration is better because it airs multiple times on a daily basis during the peak times, PM, AM, and midday rush hours during the lunch hours. And I could tell you that in the local Hispanic businesses, Radio America is a lot of the times are playing. And so you get much better penetration than on the television. The television.
Are there other radio stations that are not on our list that are Hispanic radio stations?
But the problem with the newer, there's a couple of new ones, but Radio America has been around for over 4 decades. It's a standard for the Hispanic community, not only in the DMV, but in Montgomery County specifically. And they have been recognized multi-generational. And so the combination of Radio America really is for those newly naturalized voters, and voters maybe up to first-generation voters that are new to the process, and they have a huge following. And they do a lot of what it calls social in-kind coverage as it pertains to COVID and the food donation locations, with assistance with HHS, education, etc. So they have a huge help.
Do we have any rating information about Radio America compared to Telemundo?
Well, yes,
number of people listening, is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, so the number, I could get that for you. I'm waiting, I'm getting them by piecemeal, but as pertains to Radio America, I could get that with you, but as stated, the difference between El Sol and Radio America is the listenership, and it's the difference between the different formats. Once again,
right.
Radio America
but are
has...
Are there others in addition to those?
There is. There's one called La Buena, which is a fairly new one, but Radio America is a fixture for the last 4 decades. And they have a deep penetration within the Spanish-speaking community.
Excuse me, I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but I do know that if we were to follow the standard that you are about what's been a fixture and has large listenership, we would be stopping a lot of our other radio advertising and putting it all into WTOP and WASH. And instead, our strategy has been to try and hit at different communities for each one. And I'm just wondering whether it might make sense for us to do something similar there. The other thing is that if I understood correctly what you were saying, it sounds like the county council and the public information office of the county executive, they have a regular program on Radio America.
But like I said,
how often is that program on?
So I stated that I will get on it about once a month. They're weekly.
No, I'm not asking you how often you get on.
Oh no. I'm just reading.
Right. What I'm thinking is that we might be able, in working with the county executive and the county council, to get you on more often as we get closer to the election, given the importance of the election.
So, but the problem, David. So the problem with that is, and I apologize for cutting you off, but the problem with that is, both shows air once a week. And we're competing with HHS, COVID tests, DACA, immigration, services, rental assistance, food stamps, WIC, and a multitude of county services. And so buying airtime with the $5,000 will actually amplify our voice on Radio America and across the community. The other thing is keeping the $5,000 within the Spanish language media. The vast majority of Hispanics in Montgomery County listen to radio still. There's a cultural connection with the music, the flavor, and where they get information. This is the reason why I'm keeping the $5,000 within, because of the allocation of Spanish language. That's why.
So why not expand to include other radio stations in the Spanish community as well?
Well, the only reason is our goal is to get more penetration. So with the other stations like La Buena, there are new radio stations, but the listenership is much, much younger. So it's the format.
So what's
There's
wrong?
not-
What's wrong with that?
It's just a much younger. I'm talking younger. When I say younger, it's 15 and under.
Oh, okay, that's different. Okay.
Yes.
Now let's talk about Twitter and Google AdWords. If I heard you correctly, what you were saying is that we're very popular on Twitter and we're very popular on Google AdWords. Because and so I'm not sure I understand if we have a significant following on Twitter, and if there's a lot of traffic on Twitter, why wouldn't we want to continue advertising on Twitter? Why would we already are doing quite a bit of advertising on Google AdWords. We're basically adding almost another 50% by stopping Twitter and going on to Google AdWords. So why not Twitter?
So the Google AdWords is a search engine. So when you search ballot Montgomery County, Board of Elections, 777 vote, there's a whole combination of search engine words. It will pull our Board of Elections. And the difference is the link will actually give you a viable link in which you could get service. When you do the Twitter, it's basically an ad and you tweet some information like we're doing now. But with the Google AdWords, you could corner the actual market of Montgomery County. When we use the Google AdWords, anytime we release the campaign, it got a lot of hits immediately. And I could tell you that the $9,000 that was allocated wasn't enough. And so there was a lot of circulated hits from those searches. Even I believe Alan said that it was very popular and he used it. But individuals using Google AdWords, you just do a search and it would reroute them to the resource that they need.
I'm not objecting to Google AdWords. I'm sure it's great, but we're already spending, a significant amount of money there, more than any other outlet. And I'm just trying to understand why we're going to zero on Twitter. And especially since you say that, you're on it a lot. So I don't understand the rationale because I thought that they were both quite popular. Now maybe we should be talking about doing more digital advertising overall. But I don't understand why we would want to only be on Google AdWords.
So similar to Facebook, there was a lot of restrictions on what you can and cannot put. So in the beginning, when we were doing the ads on Twitter, it was very challenging getting ads and banners to get approved. They were nonpartisan. If you've been able to go on Facebook and Twitter, you will see our banners. They're nonpartisan. They're focused on information, whether it's voter registration, promoting to vote by mail, etc. But Twitter had an issues with the formatting because they identified them as being partisan. We went through the process with Twitter to get an approval, but we were still waiting to get that approval. And so it was just very interesting, and I was working with the State Board of Elections to see exactly how they were able to get some Twitter space. But it was just very cumbersome to do it from our end, similar to Facebook, where they would require staff to provide their Social Security number in order to verify the organization. But
was Twitter doing that too?
Yeah, it was, and so when I saw that Google AdWords was getting a lot of hits and a lot of positive feedback and a lot of redirects to the corresponding links, then we would get more bang from our buck because with Google AdWords, you only get charged when you get that redirect. If I pull information for Board of Elections, if I don't act upon that banner, I don't get charged. So you would get a lot of hits for that search, but until you go through that link and it feeds you through either our website or the State Board of Elections corresponding link, you don't get charged. So I feel there's more bang for your buck getting charged for the actual relay to that service as opposed to looking at an ad on Twitter and you don't know if they act upon it or not.
So on Twitter they're charging?
David?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you through? David, are you through?
I was just going to ask one more question about Twitter, and then I would.
Go ahead and ask it.
Okay, Gilberto, is the Twitter ad you're saying just has our message, and you don't know whether it's been seen or not? Is that what you're saying? Whereas for Google AdWords, you're saying that you don't get charged if people don't actually click on it.
Exactly. So with Twitter, it'll show you if you got seen and you still get paid. With Google, it shows you if it's been seen, but it charges you when it's been acted upon.
Okay, I'm still, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'll be interested to hear what Jackie has to say.
I would like
Yeah.
to thank Elise and I individually spent a good deal of time with Dr. Z working on this, and he has done, in my opinion, an extraordinarily good job with very little money and a big message to get out, and has done a lot of information seeking, and I would strongly recommend that we accept this budget, and I'd like to make a motion to that end. I move.
Second.
Do we need a motion, Margaret, on this?
Yes.
We do? Okay.
I have a question for the time for discussion.
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
At least seconded.
Second, Elise?
Second it.
All right, any further discussion? Alan?
Yeah, you asked me a question. Dr. Z, Radio America, is the money going to? Oh shoot! Is the money
Turn off your phone, Alan.
I did. Is the money going to WACA? Is that an affiliate of Radio America?
No, Radio America, let me tell you exactly, sorry. I'm not sure exactly. Radio America's off with the, I'm uploading the email. With a local affiliate.
But there's a Spanish language affiliate of Radio America, is that what it is?
No, Radio America is a standalone affiliate. It's a radio station here in Wheaton, Maryland, off of University Boulevard.
Okay, WACA, I think it is.
I think so. Let me give you the letters. It's AM 900. I don't know let me see the call numbers. Yeah, WACA.
Okay. The next question I've got on Twitter is this: can you, if you have a Twitter account, you typically do free PSAs on there to people who follow you. There's a backup at Richard Montgomery. You're better off going to the EOB or vice versa. Can you do that?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I mean, can you privately on Twitter do public service announcements such as there's a backup of voters at the Executive Office Building. Why don't you go to Richard Montgomery instead?
Yeah, we did. Actually, we did that. I recall when there was an incident, when the issues where voters were assuming that the location of the ballot drop box at City Hall in Rockville was a vote center or early voting vote center. So what we did was on Facebook and our social media handles, we immediately posted something to circulate, and also went through the Richard Montgomery alumni and Richard Montgomery High School and kind of their inner circle to communicate that. But yes, we still have the capability without buying any ad space. We did that.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm done. Thanks.
Any further discussion?
No.
No? Okay, all those in favor of, what's the word I'm going to use?
Media plan,
Yeah, but
media budget.
all those in favor of the media budget as presented by Gilberto, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, Gilberto. Thank you, Elise, Jackie. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy your vacation.
Oh, I'm back.
Any other new business?
I was contemplating coming back from the mountains in Western Maryland.
Okay, we're now up to
Minutes.
action items. Is there any action items?
I sent the letter.
No, I have further new business.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, David.
Go ahead, Dave.
Excuse me? No, I'm not ready to talk about minutes. I sent the board, I'm looking for my email so I can tell you precisely when I sent it, a letter that Senator Kagan sent to the state board in which she is advocating that the state pick up 100% of the cost of the absentee ballot request. That obviously is worth a fair amount of money to Montgomery County. So I would like to make a motion that we support that effort.
Yeah, I agree. I second.
And if you guys hang on, I'll try and tell you when I send it to you. But
I think we've already agreed.
okay.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of supporting Senator Kagan's request to the State Board say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We're going to go now to action items. Do we have any action items?
No, I sent the letters to Linda Lamone.
I don't think we have any action items to discuss. Okay.
Minutes?
Minutes. So we have 2 minutes, 2 sets of minutes. One is,
July 2nd.
I have July 1st. The first is the,
Second.
it is 3 on the agenda, but I have in front of me July 1st and June 29th.
Okay.
That's all I have.
July 1st is a Board of Canvassers meeting, correct?
This is certification meeting.
That's the certification meeting. Yeah, July 1st is when we certified, after presentation by Margaret, and then David and I signed the recertification document. So,
I move we accept the minute as presented.
July 1st,
July 1st. Second.
any discussion on the July 1st certification meeting minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Alan, did you submit any changes to the minutes?
I didn't submit them, no.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that's unanimous. Those are accepted. And then I have in front of me the teleconference meeting we had on June 29th.
In June 29, we have 2 versions. One is the one Lisa prepared, which is very comprehensive, and then we have an audio version of the minutes. So,
What does that mean?
Kevin,
An audio version of the minutes. What does that
when
mean?
you listen to it, it says, good afternoon, this is Jim Schnaller, and it's all there. It's the audio.
Oh, so you're suggesting that the recording be the minutes instead of having written minutes? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that what Lisa said is 2 versions. One says what she prepared. The other one
I'm gonna sign both of
is
these.
the one she
Right.
said is the audio. I don't know if I'm mistaken. She sent it or not. Is Lisa there?
No, Lisa, it's on the phone.
No, she's
No,
not.
she's not.
She's not.
Oh, sorry.
No, Kevin, it's this one we're talking about.
Maybe
One
that
mo-
was a mistake. Here.
One moment. One moment, please.
Board of Canvassers and Board of Elections. First, let me take a stand. Jim Charlotte, I'm here. Nahid Kozumay.
Who's playing
It's
that?
the whole audio.
Here.
Tim, I suggest we table this till Thursday, too.
All right. What about?
I'm not sure what set we're looking at,
All right,
what
yeah.
amendments were submitted.
We're Kevin's suggestion, we're a little confused here. We're gonna put that off for Thursday also, the consideration of the June 29th meeting to make sure we have the right version in front of us.
Okay.
But we did approve,
Please, everybody pay attention to it. it says June 29, 2020 B, and then the other one says June 29, 2020 B. B is the one who has the audio. D is the one, Lisa presents, which is very comprehensive.
It says audio on here.
Yeah, I don't see the recording. All I see are two Word documents that Lisa sent us on Friday. One was for July 1 and one was for June 29.
Okay.
I'm not sure I understand what you're referring to, Naheed.
The one I can send it to all of you.
Those are the timing marks.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That's the one I got.
She wants to know what the timing marks. Is that the one?
So,
Okay.
She got two.
She got
She
two.
got two different
Yeah,
ones.
let's not rush on this one. Let's put the June 29th off to Thursday. But July 1st, we approved.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Diane, I kept trying to get that meeting on Thursday earlier rather than later. I'm gonna have to sign off at 5 o'clock. And now instead of just the Marriott thing, we're talking about, we got 3 agenda items already. So, what do you think?
I think we can wrap it up in a half hour.
Can we start at 4? 4:50?
No, that's not good for Elise. We agreed on 4:30, but we'll make every effort to wrap it up by 5.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Great.
That was very good meeting, everyone. So Thursday at 4:30 is our next teleconference meeting, and then our regular meeting is September 21st. Thank you, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'm adjourned.
And is there a second?
I second.
Before we vote, Jackie, you finally got your high schools as voting centers, huh?
Thank you, yes. After 6 years of saying it 3 times a year, yeah, I was very pleased that I was pleased the governor's proclamation used some of my very words in it, and I thought, well, somebody listened.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye.
Aye.